Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome to President's Day. I hope you had a great weekend. The markets are closed today, but Dave and I will find something to talk about because the markets are now closed all around the world. So we do have a few things that I know I've read a couple articles about, and so we'll talk about those and come up with a few more topics that should be of interest to everybody out there. So hang tight, and I look forward to our conversation with Dave today.
105.7 Highlands Light FM. Good morning. President's Day is here. It's 8:39 now, 21 before 9. Time check in on your money. We were talking about overseas issues off the air, and I didn't even get a chance to ask Philip Statler whether or not the markets are open today. I think they are, but let's find out. Downtown Sebring we go. Statler Financial Services, and Philip is on the line. Philip, good morning. I didn't even check. Are the markets open today or aren't they?
They're not open today. No, no.
Okay, I did
No.
that. I wasn't sure. I thought they'd probably be closed, but then again, I'm seeing futures saying one of my tip sheets says 45 minutes till market opening, but that's all automated, and they probably forgot to check their website, right?
Yeah. So yeah, we've got yeah, it's a day off on the marketplace. The futures are going to trade no matter what. So
Oh, absolutely. Electronic stuff goes all the time. Set the table for the morning before we get into all the nitty gritty. And it was an eventful weekend, largely overseas. Friday's close, Dow was off by 25 points in the context of a 29,000 Dow. That's pretty close to flat. NASDAQ was up by a bit, about 19, and Standard & Poor's up by 6. It looked like a borderline normal day on Friday on the markets on our side of the pond. Weekend was kind of interesting, though. China, two things happened. One, I would think would be really, really bad. The other is really, really good for Chinese stocks. The bad news was that China released information. Number one, the president there is scrambling for his life, trying to tell the Politburo all the things that he's done and the timeline he did them. About the time that China admitted that they think they found where the coronavirus got its start, and oh geez, it came out of a lab that happens to be right next door to the main hospital in Wuhan. That would be one of those things that heads would roll in our country for, and they might actually literally roll over in China, wouldn't you think?
yeah, I would think so, Dave. That's got to be incredible to finally figure that out.
Oh yeah, and then like I said, in a lab experimenting with bugs right next to a hospital, and then oh gosh golly, that's the epicenter of something that's killed thousands of people. And what is the current count? Over 1 million people that have contracted the virus, isn't it?
I haven't seen that number. I did see a pop up, and I think this is just a Chinese number. 2,000 have died because of it.
Oh yeah, I mean it's at the point of its death rate as a percentage is lower than the last virus scare that we had, but it seems like such a virulent virus that it's spreading like wildfire in China. It's just absolutely scary to think that it came out of a lab where they were experimenting with viruses in bats, and then to find out the DNA matches that virus, and they're saying, "Oh shucks." Good reason to have the government over there really do some serious stimulus, isn't it?
It is. We talked a little bit about that before we went on the air, that we're seeing China really start to kick in some numbers to really help them out over there. They cut rates, they're buying extra securities, and they're issuing some tax cuts. So across the board, they are pumping in stimulus like no tomorrow.
Kind of like Ben Bernanke on steroids, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's definitely helping their market today, uh, but uh, but it's long term, what's it going to really do?
Now, there's always a risk to getting into the stimulus mode, as we've been talking about with our Fed, because it gives you very few tools if you ever hit a legitimate problem later on down the line. But your point taken, the Chinese mainland markets closed over 2% up today. And in the face of that coronavirus bad news, that's really an amazing performance. I was flippantly saying if it hadn't been for the virus, they probably would have been up 10%, right?
Well, and that could be, with all the, but the other thing is, if we hadn't had the virus, we wouldn't be doing the quantitative easing either, hopefully. Um, and then the other side of things, right? We've got China's not the only thing over there in the Asia realm. We got Japan.
And they're not looking half as pretty right now as the Chinese markets did.
They really are not. They had an unexpected downturn when it comes to their GDP. Their GDP, when you look at quarter over quarter, was down 1.6% and an annualized rate of 6.3%. So that's almost double what they were expecting on the downside. Second worst GDP since the financial crisis back in 2008. And they're blaming it because they raised sales tax there. But still, you got to think, Dave, that's a huge decline, and they're not expecting it to reverse itself this quarter. So, two back-to-back quarters definitely is going to throw them to a recession. And at that rate, you and I agree, it could put them into a depression.
I was going to say, you start measuring 6% GDP downticks with no end to the decline in sight. Kind of a cautionary tale for the politicians talking about raising taxes, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it definitely is playing havoc on Japan over there.
Yeah, the Chinese markets closed down by over 2/3% early this morning, for what it's worth. We've got a really quiet day on our side of the pond, owing to the markets being closed, and not very many at all in terms of quarterly reports being issued, because, well, companies like to get the benefit off of a good report and insulate themselves from the bad news coming out, and nobody wants to sit and stew on a bad report. You came up with something kind of funny. Over in Korea, side effect, we talked about the ripple effect of any kind of a virus scare like we've got with the coronavirus. They've got a toilet paper shortage in Korea, which we credit to the coronavirus, right?
Well, yeah, and what was really the funny part of the article is that some people stole a whole truckload of toilet paper because of this shortage that seems to be occurring over there. So, yeah, I can't say what the first line of the article really said, but it was quite comical.
Adds a whole new dimension to the phrases black market and whatnot. It's generally been an overall weird weekend. This week ahead, Philip, I haven't had a chance to check the calendar. Third week in any month is generally relatively quiet. We're coming to the end of earnings season. Anything you see ahead of us as far as a market mover, or are we going to be victim to the news cycle this week?
Well, while I look at that, let's talk about GM for just a minute. General Motors is getting ready to retreat from Australia and New Zealand and Thailand. They're actually closing their plants by the end of 2021. They will discontinue it's called the Holden brand, which is a brand of vehicle they have over there. And so they're going to exit Thailand. Actually, they're going to withdraw the Chevy brand by the end of this year and sell their plant over there to the Chinese automaker Great Wall Motors. So that's a pretty big deal. It's going to take a pretty big hit in their first quarter financials as we look at that, but they're shedding things that are not making them money, which ultimately will be a good thing.
Net, it should improve their position, but no stockholder likes to hear that a company is pulling completely out of an entire nation or region for that matter.
Yeah. So here's what I got for the week. We've got building permits, housing starts, and the core PPI coming out on Wednesday. On Thursday, initial claims as usual. And then Friday's not much of anything. What is it? Existing home sales. So that's a few things coming out this week.
Probably going to make that producer inflation index coming out on Wednesday much more important than it would be otherwise, wouldn't it?
I think so, because, home sales will be important in those permits and construction starts, because that always gives us an idea of how real estate's doing.
Understood. Well, resetting the table for the morning, we had a generally mixed day, but for the most part, call it up on Friday. Again, we're looking at a closed set of stock market numbers today, but like you said at the outset, the futures trading goes on unabated because that's done electronically. What are we looking at in terms of an indication 24 hours and 45 minutes before real money gets thrown around, Philip?
Yeah, at this point, Dave, everything is pretty much green. I mean, we got the Dow up about 0.1%. We got the S&P 500 up about 0.15, and we got the NASDAQ up about 1/3%. So everything's green there. but who knows in 24 hours what that number will look like. Now, the commodities are still trading, not as fast and as furious as if we were actually working today, but the gold is down just a tad, and silver is up about 0.25%. And then we've got crude oil basically where it was at $52.30 a barrel right now.
It does sound like we're starting to establish a trading range in there somewhere, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I expect so. Overseas trading, we pretty much dealt with the Asian markets already. Japan tanked this morning early on. Chinese mainland markets generally having party time off of that quantitative easing, for lack of a better term, they're doing. Europe responding to the Asian rim by generally trading upward this morning, midway through their day. They are trading over there because it may be President's Day here, but over there they call it Monday. Philip, this weekend probably is one of the best poster children out there for instability in the market. God only knows what can happen while your money is resting. If we're looking at retirement in the next few months or even few years, that's got to scare people. How do I find you to get some insulation from that volatility?
David, give us a call at 863-382-0037 to have a financial x-ray of their current portfolio. Join us every weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show. 6 a.m. and noon on Saturdays, 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings on News Talk 730 a.m.
All righty, and back here tomorrow when we're throwing real money around on Light FM. Philip, thank you so much. You have a happy President's Day.
All right, man. You have a great day.
Take care. Be well, my friend. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services. Philip Statler.
Hey, folks, I want to thank you for joining us today. I hope if you're off today, you have a great holiday. If not, I hope your week is off to a good start. I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Have a great day.